Hi my loves, Dre, my lady girl from around the way, where we have culture, conversation, and community. And in today's video, we're discussing I May Destroy You, Season 1, Episode 7. I don't remember the name of this episode, but it's a good one. It's a telling one. I feel like they've taken us all over the place within these last few episodes, and this episode is kind of like something's coming to a head here. It's Terry's birthday. This episode starts off with Terry and Arabella, Kwame, like celebrating, going to like the market, grabbing stuff. They got a little happy birthday stash, and you know, they're all looking good and happy and is in good spirits. Then they're in the grocery store. I think Terry notices Simon, and I think she tries to follow him. Kwame's on Grindr, checking things out, and Arabella's card has declined. Apparently sis has been struggling with her coins. We noticed that like a few episodes back, but now it's getting real, and it's nothing more embarrassing than going to the counter and your card being declined. And then don't let it be a line, child, because I've been there before. So the next scene is Arabella presenting, I guess, some new work that she's been writing to her publishing company, the white guy and the white girl, and she's reading this beautiful, beautiful piece. I'm like, yo, this is really good writing. She talks about how like her rape seems so small up against poverty, and like, you know, it's a humbling reminder. Just really, really good insight, and the way that she was writing it was just really, really beautiful. In that moment, we see the intersectionality again between race and gender, and also now social class, because you know, when you're hungry, she's like, me and my brother were no different, you know, outside of just being hungry and loves. What made me different was I experienced a rape. Really good, really deep. As she was reading it, you could tell she was like passionate about it, and she was like, her eyes were watering up. Just really, really moving stuff. Michaela, write that book. She needs to publish some work. Seriously, Michaela, write a book. But the writing managers, they're like, yeah, well, we need you to finish that draft. And I think that that's so hard to, I think it's a blessing to be in a situation where you are able to profit off of your creativeness, or out of your art form, or out of your passion, but then to have it on such a guideline that, you know, it's affecting your finances. When I'm writing something, I'm not in that mental space anymore. And she's like, well, I need some money. And they're like, well, you have a contract, sis. So she goes to Susie. Susie's a black woman, if y'all don't remember. She's the manager, or I guess the owner of the publishing company, and she's pretty much saying the same thing. Like, I'm telling you all that I'm writing about rape. And she pretty much says the same thing. Arabella shows up, and I'm like, I'm doing what you told me to do. And she's like, what's that? She's like, writing about rape. And she's like, oh, great. So we can't do anything about giving you any advances because you signed a contract. So she leaves. She's feeling bummed because it's like, girl, business first. So after she realizes that her back is up against the wall and she needs some cash, she links up with Theo, who looks like she's like reading a script, like telepromoting or something. A company called like Happy Vegan. I'm guessing they're trying to get people to convert to veganism. And Arabella's about to start calling. Theo hands her some money. She's like, no, it's good, it's fine, you know, because I'm getting a referral fee for you. And she looks like she's about to get on the call, and then the CEO of the company comes over like, hey, can I get a couple sound bites from you? Can I get some pictures with you really quickly, promoting our company, yada, yada, yada. And Arabella quickly understands that, okay, my persona, my clout can turn into profit. So she's all for it. She's like, bro, what else you need me to do? I'm like, yeah, we're going to go on a live stream next week. She gets paid, and she loves it. So in the next scene, Terry meets up with Simon, and originally I'm like, what is she doing talking to him? I was originally thinking that Tara was going there to kind of give Simon a piece of her mind and let her know, like, you know, you trash, you ain't shit, whatever the case may be. But apparently Tara has been visiting Simon often on his work breaks, and pretty much what's revealed is Tara received a phone call from Simon the night that Arabella was raped, and Tara said, you know what, just leave her, she does it all the time. And I think that that's stemming from what happened to her in Italy, since she felt like, you know, Arabella got so messed up. But if you remember, back to that episode, Tara was the one who actually left her, because Arabella was pretty zooted and didn't want to leave. So I think that Tara is feeling really, really guilty, and rightfully so. She didn't tell her friend. She's been trying to hide, having secret meetings, and then she's also like really, really trying to dig into Simon that what he did was messed up, because he's like, oh, well, you don't want Arabella to know that you gave me permission to leave her. But the thing about permission is this, like, I understand that they're best friends. Your death is my death, your birth is my birth, all of this here. He's a grown man too, though. Everybody had choices in this process. So it's not all of Tara's fault because she told him to leave. You're a grown-ass man. You came there with her. Now, Tara was absolutely wrong. That is going to be such a betrayal that... And because she never mentioned it. She never mentioned it. I mean, like, how could you? How would you? But Tara is so caught up in her recovery. I'm taking her to yoga. I'm taking her to steam room. I'm taking her to this. I'm doing that. And you don't affirm her self-worth and all of these things. But it's just very, very toxic, y'all. I cannot believe it. And it makes sense why Tara has such a stake in her recovery, because she played a part in somehow her, I don't want to say rape, because she didn't make that man do what he did, but she definitely wasn't doing what she was supposed to do as a best friend. Anyways, it's Terry's birthdays. They're throwing her a house party, and you know, they're doing each other's hair, getting each other's all prim and proper, super cute aesthetic. And the house party looked like it was lit too. They had the food, they had the room for the dancing. I'm like, damn, remember that? House parties, do y'all even remember what that even feels like or looks like? So people are being introduced. There is a guy, oh my gosh, there's a spider coming down like literally right here. I wonder if he's gonna drop down and make a cameo in the video. Spiders are good luck. So the people are coming. So people are coming to the party. It was this one guy who was like Egyptian and Ecuadorian, and obviously he is Kwame's type. Kwame said something really kind of concerning when he's like, yeah, well, my first time was with a Greek and an Egyptian. I didn't even know their names. They just told me, you know, their backgrounds. And you know, Terry was looking at him like, yeesh, that's kind of harsh. And he's like, yeah, I know, it is pretty dark. But the party continues on. Kwame doesn't really seem interested in the Egyptian. Terry is, you know, being serenaded, happy birthday. She's obviously wasted. She's professing her love to Arabella and to her friends, you know. She's just doing her whole Tara speech that she, you know, used to give, her Tara talks and stuff like that that she mentioned in the episode before. You can kind of see those similarities here in this week's episode. And professing her love about Arabella, saying that she loves her more than she even loves herself. I'm like, damn, that's a strong ass friendship. But couldn't even be honest enough to tell her what's really going on. So Arabella's like eating some chicken in the kitchen throughout the party, and she's posing for a picture, and she's like, oh wait, she was like, did you just hide your chicken? She was like, girl, it's off brand. So there's a character there, Pastor Samson, and he's wearing an intentional shirt that says monkey in the jungle, but he's obviously very smart. He was just talking about the veganism movement, and you know, going into that kind of like conspiracy theorists and the climateers, and you know, down with the white people. And then in comes Theo, and everybody's looking like, you know, what is she doing here? And I can kind of relate to that. You ever been like around like your close group of friends where you can kind of like let it all hang, and then suddenly someone comes and now you don't have that same comfortability, if you will. So instantly the mood somewhat changes, because you know, now it's not just people of the same typical cultural background or anything like that. Tara is obviously like really, really bothered by Theo's presence. She just doesn't understand why Arabella is so adamant on hanging out with her. Terry is not holding back at all. She doesn't like Theo. She doesn't understand why she's there, and she's just waiting for her girl to see, you know what I mean, essentially. After that awkward encounter, Kwame is asking Arabella to go into her room for a second, and she's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And Kwame calls Damon, the guy who ended up leaving him, and then he got assaulted. And he's like, you know, thank you so much. He's like, what are you thanking me for? And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to live my life now. I found somebody. And he just hangs up. He's obviously, you know, bothered and disturbed. I think he was trying to call to have someone in that situation or comfort him, because I thought he liked him. It was weird for him to invite him in the first place, which somebody commented in my in the comment section in the last video. But I felt the same way. I thought it was super weird. And he's like, oh, thank you so much. And he hangs up. He's obviously upset. He's having flashbacks. Arabella notices the Egyptian and locks them in the room together. And, you know, on one hand, you feel like this is my friend that's being, you know, helping me, being my wingman or whatever. And then in the literal sense, she is bringing more toxic shit into my life. Arabella locks the Egyptian and Kwame in the room together, and on one hand it's like, oh, she's being my friend, being my wingman or whatever, because she knows how I gets down or how I've gotten down in the past. And then in a literal sense, she's just being very toxic because she's out of touch about what's happening with her friends, and it's really, really effed up. It's effed up. And sometimes people can have pure intentions, but just in their own patterns and their own behaviors really bring drama and toxicity into your life. Kwame is obviously disturbed. You can kind of visibly see him getting upset. He's very nervous. Obviously he's experienced something traumatizing, and it's really just sad to see that his friend put him in that predicament. So the party's kind of dwindling down, and Pastor Samson, you know, the guy who had the proverbial monkey in the jungle t-shirt on, was just pretty much rapping. He was just talking, you know, he's kind of like a conspiracy theorist, or really just spitting facts, you know what I mean? Like, we all have that one friend, okay? And for real, I might be that one friend to a lot of my friends, so I can't even fault them, because I will turn a regular lighthearted conversation into something serious and metaphysical and everything super quickly. So I was like, you know what, this is so real life, because even at a party, it's always that one. And in the process, Arabella's like, oh my gosh, you know, he's pretty much just talking about veganism, and it all results back down to power and worship. And I always say everything is about mind control and indoctrination. So I feel you. I share the same sentiments, Pastor Samson, for real, because a lot of these movements, so to speak, are to kind of get you to not focus on one thing, and so that way you don't see what's going on. Because he made a good point that people want to be so focused on the future because they don't want to focus on what happened in the past and address that. I, for one, don't know much about the climate change era or movement. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not about to sit up here and act like I do, because a lot of y'all in my comments where I be talking like I'm an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm just a regular girl. Okay, so but I don't eat meat, and that's not because of any like political movement or political stance. I just find that meat takes a long time to process in my body. I don't like the way, you know, it comes out in my skin, and yet you just whatever. It's my own personal choice. But I didn't realize that it has been I don't want to say weaponized, but it is a tool that people are using. So after this video, I'm probably going to do some more research on it, because, you know, I'm always learning and constantly growing. So if you know something about that, you know, drop a comment down below, or like links or resources. You guys are really good at like kind of giving me knowledge and changing perspective, and I appreciate that, y'all. And shout out to all my new subscribers. I don't want to get off track, but yeah, y'all are okay. Y'all kind of do me a solid every once in a while, and I appreciate that. I don't want you to think that it's just like, oh, whatever. I am really that girl that will do the extra legwork. If you send me something, if you email me something, I'm gonna look into it and I'm gonna respond to you. Pastor Samson pretty much tells her, if you want to be a person that's fighting against exploitation, you at least need to realize and recognize when you're being exploited yourself. And Miss Theo was very tight-lipped. She was actually very thin-lipped and tight-lipped and said nothing. So I'm like, this is interesting. In the next scene, it's Theo and Arabella, and they just looked like they got finished doing a line of Class A. That's what they call it, I guess, in the UK. And I'm just like, wow, like these girls are still very risky. I mean, everybody, you know, does things differently. I'm not going to leave things up to your imagination. I'm not judging either. But if you've been watching my videos, you know that like heavy drug use is not something that I am a fan of or promote or whatever. It's not something that is a part of my experience as a black girl. No, I'm not gatekeeping the black experience, because somebody said that, which was like, what? I'm just speaking on my experience. Anyway, I also think it's weird that she's like this counselor for a support group, but she's also engaging in whatever. And it kind of made Terry's point seem true, like she's just here to give us coke and all this, whatever the case. But anyways, she admits to her, like, listen, I get a higher referral fee if I bring in a person of color. She's like, what? Like, really? She has a moment and she's like sitting down like, damn, maybe I did get got again, which is really disheartening because, you know, who wants to keep feeling like they're getting taken advantage of, whether sexually, financially, or anything. And Theo justified it like, I needed cash, you needed cash, whatever. I guess I should have told you. Really shady, really weird, you know, White Walker stuff. Then Theo just said, you know what, I'm just gonna quit. It doesn't really go with what I'm trying to do here. And Arabella's like, yeah, well, we're gonna figure out a way to get our money out of this anyways. So Arabella admits to her that she was the one who told back in high school, and they kind of walk away laughing and smiling like everything's fine. I think it's interesting though. I think Theo and Arabella both have a level of dysfunction that they recognize in each other, so they bond over that. I'm just thinking. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. And Kwame is finally released out of the room because she's like, she's on a break and whatever the case may be. And Kwame's really upset. He's really hurt. And despite him being really upset and hurt, he doesn't like lash out, and he talks to Terry and kind of lets Terry know that this is something that he's been dealing with silently. And she's like, wow, you know, I can't believe you've been suffering silence, essentially. He's like, yeah, well, I can't really get through to Arabella. He's like, you need to tell her. And he's like, well, I think we should start cleaning up. But I'm really glad that Terry's there for Kwame. Although she's not the best, they have this real alliance and allegiance to one another. So after the situation, after Kwame revealed what happened to him, to Terry, they all was like, well, let's just go help her clean. And they're all helping her clean and whatever. And it's just like, you know, a group of dysfunctional, loyal, toxic friends. And that's really how a lot of friendships are. So it's very real depiction. And again, to my point, sometimes people stay in situations that really aren't the best for them out of loyalty and out of comfortability, familiarity, all of these things. So it's real, y'all. I can see a lot of that in family situations and friend situations. Very real. Very good episode. It's a lot. It's not like in your face, but you see it coming to a head. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section, what y'all thought of this episode. You know, I thought it was good. I wasn't as moved as I thought I would have been in learning that Terry was kind of like behind the scenes a little bit with Simon. I want to see how that's going to play out. I don't think Arabella's going to take it well. I think it's going to be a super duper major portrayal for her because she had many opportunities to say something and she did not. So we'll see. I'm hoping for season 2 of this, y'all. It's that good.